The story begins in Yukihira's diner, and we see Soma, who was cooking squid tentacles with peanut butter. Suddenly his father told him that his friend showed up and he prepared the dish. Soma started frying rice like a champ and he challenged his father to a cooking duel. They served Mayumi a good-looking Chinese-style fried rice, and everyone was excited to see who would win the cooking duel this time. She declared Yoichiro as the winner of the duel, and Soma lost again to his father. He lost almost 500 times to his father, and all the customers loved Yoichiro fried rice. Meanwhile, Mayumi tried to cheer Soma up, and he wanted to serve her his new dish. Following this, she was forced to taste his disgusting dish, and she felt that an octopus had attacked her. Soma had no pity for Mayuri and dreamed of inventing even nastier recipes. Afterwards, his father showed up, and he said that the sardines with strawberry jam he made were even worse. In this moment, everyone learned that Soma got his hobby of inventing disgusting recipes from his father. In the evening, Yukihira's diner had many customers and everyone loved Yoichiro's cooking. Later, they were cleaning up at the diner, and Yoichiro noticed his son was deep in thought. Soma will be graduated from middle school soon, and he wanted to surpass his dad as soon as he can. Suddenly, some guests with suits showed up at their diner, and urban life planner Minagasaki introduced herself. Soma was shown a flyer about a luxurious urban apartment building, but he wasn't interested. He replied that they had no intention of shutting this place down. So she left a business card and she tried to convince Soma's father to sell their diner. Soma said that they will not sell their shop and they will offer all the dishes that their customers want. Then Minagasaki asked him what he would do if he couldn't fulfill the customer's request. Soma replied that they would close the shop as a responsibility. Then Soma said that he stands by his words. In the following day, Mayumi wondered what her crush Soma was doing. He told his father that he picked up some stuff for breakfast, and his father said that he won't be home until tomorrow. Suddenly, his father asked him what he will do after middle school, and he replied that he will study cooking at the restaurant. Soma wondered what's so important, that his father closed the restaurant for a day. Later, he arrived home and he was shocked to see that someone broke into their store. He suspected that Minagasaki was the culprit and she appeared behind him. Then she said that she is in the mood to eat some meat, and she didn't admit that she ruined all their ingredients in the fridge. She looked down on Soma and she reminded him of his words to take responsibility if he couldn't fulfill the request of a customer. Suddenly, Soma said that he will serve her a satisfying meal with juicy meat, and he accepted her challenge. He was ready to cook a delicious meal and started to chop all ingredients. Soma fried onions with potatoes, and he mashed the potatoes to mix with the onions. Meanwhile, Minagasaki wondered, what are he making without any decent ingredients? Soma was confident that he can make a meal with juicy meat, and he used all his cooking skills. He poured wine into the pan and fried it with some butter to create a perfect meat sauce. As a result, he created pork roast with the ingredients that he bought for breakfast. They were surprised that he made it with potatoes and thought that he tried to fool them. Minagasaki didn't accept it, and she said the chefs, who find true success, are working for first-class restaurants. But Soma replied that his dish will tell her whether or not Yukihira is worthy of existing. She tried to withstand the strong umami smell, but her body reacted by her own. As a result, she tried a piece of his gacha roast pork. After the first bite, she was overwhelmed by the godlike taste of heaven. Soma knew she loved his dish and told her the ingredients he used. He explained to her the reason why his dish tasted so divine, and she learned that with all the ingredients he was able to release a large amount of umami. Following this, everyone could smell the heavenly taste, and they tried to resist it. Minagasaki sensed that she couldn't control her desire and she wanted to eat another piece. Before she could dig into the meat, Soma took the dish away from her. So he said that she had to promise never to destroy the restaurant again. She promised to do anything he wanted and then asked to get more. As a result, Soma won, and he served his guests delicious fake roast pork. Everyone was allowed to try his divine dish and had a taste experience that they could never forget. Soma successfully defended his family's restaurant, and he was able to make the customers very happy. In the next day, Soma was cleaning their store, and he didn't plan to let his restaurant to get destroyed. Then Yoichiro showed up, and Soma said that he defended the diner. Suddenly, he told his son that he will close the restaurant for 3 years. He told Soma that an old friend of his had suggested working with him. In addition, he told Soma that he was going to travel abroad, but Soma did not want to close the restaurant. Yoichiro said it was time for him to go his own path and told him about a cooking school. So Soma was on his way to a cooking school, and he thought it would be boring. After this, he realized that the Totsuki Tea House Culinary Academy was not a normal school. It was Japan's top culinary school, with a graduation rate of less than 10%. Then we see a thick chick, who was under a waterfall. Irina evaluated the cooking skills of talented chefs, and she said the soup tasted like a jukebox was dropped on her head. Following this, she tasted the last soup, and she imagined that a gorilla was bathing with her. She told everyone that their soup was disgusting, and they didn't understood what she mean with that the soup tastes like bathing with a gorilla. As a result, they apologized to Irina for serving her god-tongue disgusting food. In the meantime, Soma asked why the other applicants have butlers or guards. Yoichiro explained to him that he will take the transfer admission exam, and only a few will pass it. Then he found out that his father works at the Manhattan Royal Hotel. Soma was shocked that he was in New York, and Dr. McFly loved his food. He said that he loved Yoichiro's food, and a monk planned to break his fast to eat Yoichiro's meals. Meanwhile, Yoichiro told Soma that if he can't survive school to graduation, he will never surpass him. Following this, Irina was informed that she will judge the transfer exams. Soma was angry that his father underestimated him, and he kicked a bench. He said sorry, and Nikaido wasn't angry at him, and said that his family ran a French restaurant. Then Soma told them that they own a small diner downtown, and Nikaido was shocked. He looked down on him for not running a high-class restaurant and called him a low-class commoner. As a result, he was told that a lowborn like him didn't deserve to go to this school, but Soma punished him. He got angry, and all the other applicants thought that Soma will never pass the transfer exam. A short time later, Irina introduced herself, and Soma was surprised that a student was the examiner. Hisako explained the rules, but Irina stopped her and she changed the rules. However, the applicants were shown ingredients. Irina explained to them that the main ingredients will be egg and they need to cook a dish that impresses her. Suddenly, all the applicants ran away from her and they immediately gave up. Soma learned that Irina was a genius, and all the heavyweights in the food world are her clients. In addition, Nikaido told him that his career is over if she branded him as an imbecile without any talent. Irina thought everyone had run away and she wanted to create new dishes in her private room. Hisako knew that her dishes tasted divine, and Irina knew that Hisako was already looking forward to her dishes. Then Hisako said sorry for being shameless and Soma showed up. Irina was surprised that a person wanted to challenge, and she learned that Soma has no manners. So he was lectured by Hisako, but he didn't listen to her at all and looked at a knife. Soma was planning to take the exam and Irina didn't like him, so she thought that he is a second-rate cook and she underestimated him. Soma was happy that Irina wanted to try his food, and he planned to serve her a delicious meal. However, Soma began cutting spring onions, and Hisako wondered what he planned to serve to Irina. Soma cracked eggs, and he prepared soup and rice in 2 different pots. Meanwhile, Irina wanted to know what he was going to cook, but he laughed at her and Irina got angry. They learned that the secret menu was rice with seasoning. Irina thought he was fooling her and she wanted to leave the room. Then, Soma stopped her and said that he will make rice with transforming seasoning. He got her attention and Irina's grandfather was eavesdropping them. A short time later, Soma said that his dish is almost done, and Irina wondered what Soma planned to serve. Irina found out that he served her scrambled eggs, and they were shocked. As a result, she explained to him that her palate has been called the god tongue, because only the most elaborate and refined haute cuisine graze her dinner table. Irina said that the exam is over, but Soma replied that she hasn't seen its true form yet. Following this, Soma finished his dish, and he showed Irina the true form of his secret meal. In this moment, he poured the eggs on a bowl of rice, and Irina was shocked about his creation. She could smell that the delicious aroma came from delicious chicken floating in a broth. Then he served Irina his secret menu, and Soma was sure that he will pass the exam. Irina tried Soma's secret menu, and she let it melt in her mouth. Suddenly she realized that the delicious taste had made her forget to judge his dish, and she wanted to try another bite. Soma teased her a little bit and said that he was just kidding. Following this, he explained to her the reason why his soup had such a great umami taste. He cooked a broth and combined it with rice to let it melt when served. Irina understood that Soma was a talented chef, and she realized that this was unlike any dish she had ever eaten. Soma was sure she was impressed by his cooking skills and teased her a bit. As a result, she tried it again, and she was overwhelmed by a magical feeling in her stomach. She felt that many little Soma angels were flying down on her and trying to annoy her. Then Soma said that she may be one of the elites of the food world, but she has to admit that his dish is tasty. Irina loved his dish, but she didn't want to admit her defeat and said that his dish tasted disgusting. So Irina left the room and she was angry at Soma because she couldn't stand his cheeky attitude. She told her grandfather that no one had passed, and Soma was shocked that he had failed the exam. Then, we see the story of Megumi, who was a girl of the countryside. Her family and townspeople wished her good luck, and they believed that Megumi could become a great chef. Unfortunately, the reality was different than expected, and she failed almost every test. She had to get a good grade on the next test, or she would be expelled from school. Following this, the new school year began, and valedictorian Irina Nakiri was called to the stage. All the students of the high school division first year admired her. After this, the keynote speaker was introduced, and they were all afraid of seeing the school director, Sensaima Nakiri. He welcomed all the students and praised them for surviving to the high school division. Sensaima said they gained a lot of experience during their 3 years in the junior high school division. So he announced their entrance to the high school division and said that many challenges will be waiting for them. He said that 99% will be sacrificed to find the 1% of best chefs. Additionally, he told them that only 76 out of 812 students advanced to the second year last year. The students were aware that only a handful would make it to the end, so the food wars started, but Irina believed that no one could beat her this year. Then a new transfer student was called to the stage, and Irina wondered who the person is. At that moment she remembered Soma, who impressed her, and she thought that she will never see him again. Suddenly he started to introduce himself, and Irina was shocked to hear Soma's voice. Soma announced that he will take the #1 spot, and he said that he will not lose to anyone in this school. He was looking forward to get the first spot, and all the students were angry at him. Following this, he was surprised to meet Irina from the transfer exam. He thought that she let him pass after all, and she wanted to know what he was doing at this school. He showed her a letter that he was invited to school, and she was confused. Irina looked down on Soma and said that an outsider like him can't become #1. Suddenly Soma replied that he has been cooking since he was 3 years old. He said that he will manage to cook her a dish that will make her admit that she likes it. Sensaima was behind the wall, and he was looking forward to the school year. Meanwhile, Megumi was scared because she had the lowest passing score on the high school entrance exam, but she didn't give up, and she knew that she couldn't go near Soma to avoid problems. Later, the first class started, and Megumi was assigned to Soma as a partner. Soma remembered his home economics in his school, and the other students didn't like him. Then he learned that Megumi is nervous, and she told him that if she fails today's test, she will be expelled from school. Soma was surprised by the consequences, and he hurt Megumi's feelings. She learned that Soma was a nice guy, but she couldn't ignore the glares from the other students. After this, the teacher showed up and he planned to start the lesson. Teacher Roland explained to them that all dishes that do not deserve an A rating automatically receive an E rating. Megumi told Soma that Roland got the nickname the chef, who never smiles. Roland explained the rules to them, and they had to cook a French menu. Then the test started, and Megumi stayed calm because she thought Soma will be of great help. He didn't know what a bufu was, and Megumi thought that she might be screwed up. So everyone started cooking while Soma looked at the recipe on the whiteboard. Megumi couldn't allow herself to fail, but Soma managed to calm her down. She planned to get the serving dish, but some students planned to sabotage Soma's team. Later he asked Megumi why the cooking pot was open, and he noticed that some guys were smiling behind them. Soma discovered that there was a large amount of salt in their pot. Megumi was desperate, and she knew they didn't have enough time to start over. So she began to despair, and she didn't want to disappoint her family and friends. At that moment Soma appeared, and he brought spare ingredients. She told Soma that they won't make it in time, but Soma reminds her that they are cooking pros. He asked Megumi to help him cook and started cooking the dish again. 30 minutes later the time was almost up, and the culprits were sure that Soma would get a bad rating. They had to prepare the sauce for their own dish, but Soma planned to serve his dish to teacher Roland. Roland looked at the meat in his dish, and he was surprised that it was tender. He asked Soma how he managed to finish despite the accident and learned that Soma used honey. At that moment, Roland was impressed by Soma, and Megumi asked him how he came up with the idea. He said that when he was a child he read a book about it and discovered honey to tenderize meat. Then he offered Megumi to try a piece, and she could feel that his dish was a masterpiece. She felt like she was swimming in honey, and teacher Roland felt the same. All the students were shocked because teacher Roland started smiling. As a result, their dish received an A rating, and he wished he could give them a higher rating. Soma was happy that Roland enjoyed his dish, and the other students were shocked by the result. After that, the students who sabotaged Soma received an E rating. In another room, Takumi also received an A rating and planned to defeat Soma. A short moment later, Megumi thanked him for his help, and Soma looked forward to cooking together from now on. Soma asked her if she wanted to try his new recipe. Suddenly, Soma forced Megumi to eat squid tentacle with honey. She was shocked about the flavor, and she felt like a squid was attacking her. In the meantime, Irina was on her way to create some new recipes, but her friend showed up. It was reported to her that Soma received the highest rating possible in teacher Roland's class. She was shocked by the news, and she planned to eliminate Soma. Meanwhile, Soma was forcing his new friend to taste more of his disgusting recipes. In the evening, he was on his way to the Polar Star Dormitory, and he was walking for hours. He was tired, and on the way to the dormitory, he noticed the expensive buildings. He bet that in a rich school, all the facilities are top-notch. Arrived at the Polar Star Dormitory, he was shocked by the condition of the building. Then he entered the house, and smoke was coming out of a room. He also felt an earthquake, and a horde of animals were running out of her room. He was shocked, and he learned that only crazy people lives in the Polar Star Dormitory. Suddenly Fumio, who was Polar Star Dormitory caretaker, appeared. Then he found out that he had to pass a challenge in order to live in the Polar Star Dormitory. The challenge was to cook a meal, and he said he didn't bring any ingredients. Fumio told him that only leftover scraps were left in the dorm kitchen, but Soma accepted her challenge. Following this, Soma was shown the kitchen, and Fumio told him not to overestimate himself. He looked at the ingredients available to him, and was confident that he could cook a delicious meal. So he got ready for the fight, and said that Fumio can look forward to the meal. He immediately began chopping the vegetables and made a meat dish without meat. Shortly afterwards, Fumio was surprised that he was serving a meat-filled Hamburg steak. Soma told her that he used canned mackerel, and he explained to her how he prepared it to make his dish. She was amazed by his magic, and she wondered if the hamburger would taste too fishy. When she tasted it, she learned that the fake Hamburg steak tasted great, and she wanted to taste his soup. Fumio wanted to know how he could make soup, and Soma pointed to the squid tentacle on his mouth. He used squid to create a flavorful soup. In this moment, she realized that the great umami taste of his meal brought back memories of her younger days. Then we see Fumio and her crush Ku on a beach. Fumio said that he should come close, and she wanted him to warm her up. She fantasized about kissing Ku, and Soma tried to stop her. Meanwhile, Megumi was disappointed with Soma for forcing her to taste his disgusting squid recipes. After that, Soma learned that he had passed, and he was given the key to room 303. Megumi was relaxing in the bathtub, but Soma appeared in front of her without any clothes. Later, Soma was in his room, and he realized that he had left his home for the first time. He was remembering his days at the restaurant, and a roommate showed up. However, a welcome party was held for Soma, and he met his roommates of the Polar Star Dormitory. Megumi was still in shock, and remembered her mother told her that she shouldn't be showing skin to just anyone. Then Soma learned that not everyone passed the challenge on the first try, and she was ashamed because it took her 3 months. Ryoko poured him rice wine, and he was afraid to accept her drink. Suddenly, Daigo and Shoji wanted to go to the kitchen, and Yuki told them to come back before Fumio talks about the Elite 10. Soma remembered Hisako mentioning that Irina is the youngest member of the Totsuki Elite 10 Council. Following this, Zenji was asked to enlighten him about the Totsuki Elite 10. He explained that the Elite 10 are some of the highest-ranking people in the school. Soma learned a bunch of the former Elite 10 were living in the Polar Star Dormitory. Then Satoshi showed up, and he welcomed Soma to their dormitory. Soma learned that he was a weirdo, and he gave a speech that everyone found a bit strange. He said that Megumi loved his speeches, but she hated it. Soma was surprised that only weirdos live in the dorm, and Megumi said that he will fit in right away. Then the welcome party started for Soma, and they toasted together. Soma drank the rice juice, and they all had a lot of fun at the party. Shun had prepared snacks for the party, and Soma liked his dishes. He also got to know the other housemates' cooking skills, and it caused an argument. Then Yuki got insulted, and the girls tried to stop her because she was planning to beat up the boys. Soma planned to show his recipes, and he served shoji squid tentacle with honey. Suddenly Satoshi was dancing half naked, and they were all having fun. Fumio was looking forward to this year, and she believed that this year will be special. Almost everyone was asleep that night, but 2 people were still awake. Satoshi said that tonight was fun, and he wanted to cook him a midnight snack. Satoshi went into the kitchen, and Soma wondered why he was only wearing an apron. Meanwhile, Irina was meditating, and she planned to become number 1 of the Elite 10. Then Soma was served a Spanish mackerel by Satoshi, and Soma realized that his dish tasted heavenly. Satoshi said that he has something important to tell him. As a result, Soma learned that he got the 7th seat of the Elite 10. He said he wanted to try Soma's meal to taste his creation on his plate. Following this, Soma understood why his father sent him to the Totsuki Academy and he accepted the challenge. Suddenly, Soma asked Satoshi about his dish and wanted to know if his family runs a traditional Japanese restaurant. He tasted it again and knew that he had created a masterpiece with Spanish cuisine and Japanese cuisine. Soma planned to cook him another dish on Yukihira's secret menu, and Satoshi became curious. Then he started cooking in the kitchen, and the girls woke up. They noticed that someone was cooking in the kitchen, and Shun told them about Soma's cook-off. However, they were surprised by the cook-off between Satoshi and Soma. Soma served him menu item 20 mackerel over rice ball. He made enough for everyone, and they thanked Soma for the delicious midnight snack. Meanwhile, Ishiki was wondering what Soma's simple dish would taste like. He started tasting it and was impressed by the taste. Suddenly Satoshi explained that he used a special cooking method to fry the mackerel, but Soma didn't know anything about the technique. So Satoshi explained that pole is a French way of cooking, and they learned that his father taught Soma the way of cooking mackerels. Suddenly Soma was asked about his father, but he didn't know much about Yoichiro's past. Satoshi was impressed, and knew that his father is a genius who is a top chef. Then he realized that the rice is a symbol of snow, making the herbs stand out in the dish. Then his roommates noticed that they couldn't stop eating, and they felt the delicious taste with their whole bodies. They knew his dish was delicious and Soma sent them to another dimension. Satoshi praised Soma for his great dish and he thanked him for the delicious meal. Megumi woke up because of the loud noise and she was shocked to see a half-naked Satoshi shaking Soma's hand. Meanwhile, the girls tried to wake up the others and they left Zenji's room. Megumi wondered why Ishiki had performed a cooking duel against Soma, and they went to sleep. Everyone was surprised about the draw, but Shun wondered why Satoshi hadn't taken it seriously. Soma was still in the room, and he asked Satoshi how to become the Elite 10. So Ishiki asked if Soma had a specific reason for aiming for the top spot. He told him that he wanted to win against his father in cooking, and he wondered if he will get the 7th spot if he beat Ishiki in a cook-off. Suddenly he started to feel happy because he liked Soma's attitude. He changed the topic that they should go to sleep, knowing that Soma will go through a lot of struggles. The reason for this was that he will soon find out about the food wars that will be held in the school. Later, Soma remembered the day he met Arina, and he planned to show her that he will get the number 1 spot. The next morning, the girls woke up, and Yuki realized that her pets were lying on her. Meanwhile, Zenji realized that his room was a mess, and he wanted to scold his friends. Afterwards, Ishiki was challenged by Soma for his spot as the Elite 10, but they ignored him. They were hungry, and Ishiki explained to him about the Shokugekis at the Totsuki Academy. Then we see Arina, who competed against Chanko Boy in a cook-off because she wanted his club room. Chanko Boy was angry that Arina didn't respect him, and she said that his research is useless for the gourmet world. But he refused to give up his club room without a fight, and challenged Arina to a cooking duel. In the meantime, Soma found out about the food wars at Totsuki Academy, and learned that he must wager something that is equal in value to challenge an Elite 10. Then Fumio told him that not even the teachers can do anything about the Elite 10's decisions. However, Soma understood that he is not allowed to challenge Ishiki yet, and was told that he must win many Shokugekis to be able to challenge him. Also, he learned more rules about the food wars at the Totsuki Academy. After this, we see Arina, who had won against Chanko Boy, and she defeated him with ease. Chanko Boy was shocked about the results and she went to taste his soup. After tasting Chanko Boy's dish, she realized that her soup tasted like diving in the ocean. She was on a beautiful island, but the taste of his dish felt like a horde of fat hippos were walking past her. So she explained his mistakes to Chanko Boy, and he got angry. Chanko Boy started to cry and he was shocked about her words. In addition, his pride was hurt and he wondered why the judge chose Arina's dish. He tasted her dish and immediately understood that her dish tasted like a slap in his face at sumo. As a result, he knew her dish was amazing, and he felt great. Meanwhile, Arina called a construction worker and ordered him to destroy Chanko Boy's Hot Pot Research Society. Arina won the Shokugeki duel and everyone celebrated her victory. However, Satoshi knew that Soma will surely rack up a good cook-off record. Shun said that if he had been serious, he could have easily defeated Soma. However, Ishiki did not defeat him because he believed that Soma could become number 1 in the Elite 10. We then see Hisako congratulating Arina on her victory. She replied that Chanko Boy was not a serious opponent, and a mysterious girl appeared. Ikomi Mito already suspected that she planned to wipe out all the useless clubs and offered to help her. Later, Mitomi told a guy to do it with her, and she planned to get his research club. She challenged him to a Shokugeki and said that she works with Arena. In the following morning, we see Soma woken up by Ishiki. He asked Soma for a favor and showed up in his room because he wanted to go back to sleep. Afterwards, he told Yuki that Ishiki showed up in his room and she was also asked for help. He learned that they grow their own ingredients because they all love cooking. At the end, he was shown the fields and he was amazed by the many vegetables. Suddenly, he spotted Ishiki wearing strange underwear and they were shocked. Afterwards, Megumi showed up to show them harvested vegetables, and they were happy to see her. Ishiki gave Soma a tomato, and he was amazed by the juicy flavor. Following this, the others showed up, and they worked on the fields for a few hours. Megumi prepared breakfast for them and told them to make a break. She told them that she cooked enough for everyone, and Soma was excited to taste her meal. Yuki liked the rice balls, and they noticed that the rice balls were cooked into different flavors. In the end, Soma tasted the last one, and he was surprised by the honey taste. Then Megumi told him she used the same technique that Soma had taught her last time to make the pulled pork tender. She had also made delicious green tea, and they were happy to be able to eat Megumi's dishes. Soma wondered why she can't cook like this in class, and he learned about her stage frightness. After work, Soma was told about the school's research clubs. He learned that members developed recipes after school, and he became curious about it. After school, he looked at the various clubs, and he planned to check out the Rice Bowl Research Society. When they arrived, they found a depressed guy who said that his club would soon be history. Konishi told them that he couldn't protect his research society. After Soma looked at the recipes, he praised them, and wanted to know the reason why he was closing the club. He was happy that Soma liked his recipes, and he started telling his story. However, Soma learned that Arena is to blame for cutting the budget. He learned that Arena destroys all the clubs she considers third-rate in order to turn them into buildings for her research. Suddenly Mitomi appeared, planning what she would do with the Dawn Research Club. She was sure that she would win the Shokugeki, and insulted his recipes as low-class dishes. Additionally, she insulted Konishi as a failure, and said that he has no chance of winning against her in a Shokugeki. Suddenly she cut Konishi's hair, and Soma wondered who the girl was. Megumi told Soma that Mitomi, also known as Meat Master, is a person who has only received high ratings since she attended the Totsuki Academy. Soma didn't like Mitomi's attitude, and asked if he could compete against Mitomi in a Shokugeki. Suddenly she realized that Soma is the transfer student, and she wanted to teach him a lesson. As a result, Mitomi accepted his challenge and demanded that he leave Totsuki Academy if he lost. But Soma agreed to the condition that if he won, Mitomi would have to join the Dawn RS Club. She accepted the condition, and she said that the main ingredient will be meat, and they have to cook with it a rice bowl. After this, Soma said that pricey meat isn't everything. Then we see Mitomi, and she was grateful that she got the chance to eliminate the transfer student. In the evening, his friends were worried about Soma, but Ishiki believed that Soma would win. The following day, he prepared to develop a Dawn recipe to win against Mitomi. He asked Megumi which Dawns she likes and learned that she likes to eat seafood on her rice bowl. Then Soma was told about the famous A5 beef, and Konishi noticed that he didn't know about the meaning of A5. Konishi explained to him that a 5 beef has a much better quality than normal beef and that everyone can win with it instantly all cook-offs. This is how the quality of the meat produced by Mitomi was explained to him. Konishi said that he once tasted Mitomi's meat, and it was tender enough to drink it. Soma learned that Mitomi's family produced the highest quality Wagyu meat in the world. But Soma believed that he could win against Mitomi even with normal beef. He told Kanoshi that he must believe into his dish. A short time later he wanted to use his personal funds to buy ingredients, but he was broke. He didn't give up and just started cooking without thinking. Konishi brought him many recipes and ideas to support Soma. Following this, he asked his friend to have a taste, and he liked his dish. But he told that Soma needs to add a little bit more fat, and he cooked more rice bowl dishes to find the perfect recipe. Soma created many different dishes, and on the final day Konishi almost fainted out. At the last moment, Megumi appeared and poured water about him to keep him awake. The reason was that they couldn't develop a masterpiece recipe, but Megumi believed that Soma will find a solution. Suddenly he got a great idea, and he asked if Konishi had any steak cuts left. Soma seared a piece of steak in pan-fried onions. As a result, he had cooked a Chalian Pin steak Dawn, which was an invention of the famous man Chalian Pin. He then served his rice bowl to his friends, and they were excited about the taste. They immediately noticed that his dish tasted heavenly, and the steak was also very tender. At that moment, Soma explained that pineapples was used to tenderize the meat. Konishi was impressed with his recipe, but he was unsure if it would help them win against Meat Boob's girl. Meanwhile, Mitomi reported that she will use black Wagyu meat. She wanted to destroy Don RS with her A5 beef. However, Irina was excited about Soma getting kicked out of school.